There is a specific kind of cinematic lie that Hollywood loves telling you. And no, it's not that every high school has a hot 28-year-old teacher who just wants to inspire the minority kids through slam poetry and interpretive dance. No, I'm talking about the words that show up right before the movie kicks off. Based on a true story. Which is Hollywood speak for, we saw an article one time, ignored most of it, and then added a love interest, a soundtrack, and some casual nudity, for dramatic effect, of course. You see, claiming something is based on a true story doesn't actually mean it's true. It just means that at some point, somewhere, some event happened that gave a screenwriter a semi, and an excuse to rewrite history using instrumental versions of contemporary songs, and Matthew McConaughey, if you can get him. And because humans are gullible little shits who just want to believe that real life is cinematic, we fall for it. Over and over again. It doesn't matter if the story's got aliens, chainsaws, or blue face paint. If it starts with, "this actually happened," we absolutely eat that shit up. So today, I'm taking a look at 5 beloved, box office busting movies that all made one bold claim. They were inspired by real events. They would then proceed to lie, twist, exaggerate, and gaslight their way into cinematic immortality, which, if you, all things considered, it's actually pretty impressive. Let's begin with the movie that basically invented this scam. The greasy, grimy, face-peeling godfather of true story horror. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This film is about as true as a politician's Tinder profile. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1974 original, obviously. It famously opens with in fact, the remake opens with a voiceover as well, but I'm talking about the original. Fucking get with it, Jim. Anyway, the 1974 original, it famously opens with a voiceover, claiming that it's based on actual events. It's all very serious and somber, like you're about to watch a Ken Burns documentary. And then some hillbillies show up, and then a guy wearing someone's face as a fashion statement then shows up swinging a chainsaw like it's an appendage. Now, plot twist, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is actually based on a true story. It is. It just didn't happen in Texas. There wasn't a massacre, and there were no chainsaws involved, but apart from that, it absolutely is a true story. The inspiration came loosely from Ed Gein. I'm sure you're aware of Ed Gein. Ed Gein was indeed a real person. He lived in Wisconsin, not Texas. And he did have a fun little hobby of robbing graves and turning human skin into lampshades, belts, decorative nipple-themed accessories. You know, like Martha Stewart shit. Like, think Martha Stewart of the macabre. But Gein, he never used a chainsaw. He didn't have a big cannibal family. He didn't run a meatpacking murder mansion. And he didn't chase screaming teenagers through cow fields in broad daylight. No, none of that shit. So why did the director, Tobe Hooper, claim it was real? Marketing. He literally said he was trying to make a political statement about government dishonesty in Vietnam, which is rich, I mean, because his own dishonesty sold more tickets than any anti-war pamphlet ever could. Because it worked. Audiences left the theatre clutching their pearls and crossing out Texas from their travel plans. Do you know what I mean? The film was banned in several countries. Famously, when it was up for review over here, they were trying to cut it, they were trying to edit it so that it could be consumed by British audiences. And the editor, the guy that was in charge of doing it, famously said, "I can't edit this to make it any better." It's like the terror, the unbelievable existential dread that runs throughout the movie, because there isn't any gore in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There isn't any gore, it's just fucking oppressive from start to finish, and you can't cut that out. You can cut little bits of it out, but it still gives you the same feeling. Anyway, digression over. The protesters literally picketed it like it was a fucking snuff film, all because people genuinely believed that it was reenacting a true event. So, to be clear, Ed Gein, right? Ed Gein is the inspiration behind several horror icons. Think Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter, Norman Bates, famously, and of course Leatherface. But the real life Ed Gein was more of a sad, old, lonely, necrophiliac hobbyist, and a sad, like, pathetic mama's boy, like Norman Bates-ish, do you know what I mean? He wasn't a chainsaw-wielding maniac. He was like the creepy dude in your neighborhood, and people spoke well of him. People were like, oh yeah, Ed's a good guy. Do you know what I mean? But he was like the dude in your neighborhood who turns liking Halloween into a fucking personality. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's... Anyway, in conclusion, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on a true story, the same way that Sharknado is based on meteorology. Do you know what I mean? It's the same way that Sharknado is based on actual weather events. You were lied to, basically, but honestly, who gives a shit? Because Texas Chainsaw Massacre is fucking dynamite, so who cares? On the other hand, The Fourth Kind. The movie equivalent of a flat earther shouting, "I have evidence," whilst waving like a blank sheet of paper around and weeping. Anyway, released in 2009 and starring a very committed Mila Jovovich. The Fourth Kind presents itself as a terrifying hybrid of psychological thriller and found footage horror. The premise? Right. A psychologist in Nome, Alaska. Nome, like garden gnome, but with no G. Nome, Alaska. Uncovers a terrifying pattern of alien abductions, all while being recorded in what the film claims is archival footage. That's right. Real people, real tapes, real horror, real bullshit. The movie opens with Mila Jovovich literally walking up to the camera to explain that she's playing a real person named Dr. Abigail Tyler. That the events that you're about to witness are true, documented case studies, and that the footage you're about to witness is real. It's like if that Unsolved Mysteries show got drunk and then watched Paranormal Activity. Do you know what I mean? And was like, yeah, I can fucking do that. I can do that. Anyway, spoiler alert, there is no fucking Dr. Abigail Tyler. She's not real. She never existed. Not even slightly. Not even close. No one like her. The archival footage, the creepy split screens, the blurry abduction tapes, the so-called hypnosis sessions, all fake, all fabricated. The actors playing real people are just actors. The director, Olatunde Osasamne, I thought I did well there. Olatunde Osasamne, the director, admitted as much. They admitted it. The marketing campaign was fucking chef's kiss shit. It really was good marketing. The studio actually went so far as to create fake news articles from Alaskan publications to support the film's narrative. This included references to supposed missing persons in Nome, in the town of Nome. The Anchorage Daily News, which is a real outlet, called them out, called the studio out, which led to Universal Studios paying a financial settlement and issuing an apology. They had to issue an apology. Let's talk about Nome, Garden Nome with no G, Alaska. The town that this whole fucking shitty circus is supposedly set in, right? Now, Nome is a real place, right? It has real people in it. There are genuine missing person cases in Alaska, Nome, Alaska. It's a remote, cold, fucking, like, the place is home to real tragedies, right? But no fucking evidence of mass alien abductions, no mysterious psychologists running around hypnotizing people, no government conspiracy, just a town quietly minding its own business until Hollywood came along to fucking use it as a backdrop for its X-Files fanfiction. Do you know what I mean? The film's title, The Fourth Kind, by the way, refers to J. Allen Hynek's classification of alien encounters. A fourth kind encounter involves actual abduction, you know, as opposed to like seeing flashing lights in the sky or like being probed in a motel. Do you know what I mean? But Hynek didn't invent that term for the movie. He was a real scientist trying to categorize experiences. He wasn't trying to sell tickets to watch fucking actors pretend to scream under hypnosis. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, let's not forget the cherry on this Alien Sunday. The audio distortion, right? The audio, which fucking cracks me up. The film uses, quotation marks, real audio recordings of people being hypnotized by Dr. Tyler, who doesn't exist. They will growl in Sumerian. Sumerian. The dead Mesopotamian language that hasn't been used since the fucking Bronze Age. Sumerian. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the language that aliens speak. Clearly, a dead Mesopotamian Bronze Age language. Anyway, to recap, the people, fake. The footage, fake. The psychologist, fake. The articles supporting the story, fake. The only true thing about The Fourth Kind is that it was released in theatres. Yeah, and some people walked out genuinely thinking that they had watched like a half documentary, which is kind of beautiful in a tragic way. It did its job. You know what I mean? What makes The Fourth Kind so audacious in this regard is that it doesn't just suggest that it's based on true events. It fucking insists on it. Throughout, it doubles down and it gaslights you consistently. It looks you dead in the eye and says, this is real. I swear, I promise this is real. While knowing full well that it's peddling a bang average sci-fi screenplay. That's all it is. It's just an average sci-fi screenplay. In many ways, The Fourth Kind is the ultimate example of Hollywood's pathological need to blur the line between fiction and reality for profit. It's not content with just being a scary movie. It wants to be your new religion. And for a brief moment, in 2009, it worked. People genuinely googled this movie in a panic. Forums lit up with talk of the truth behind Nome, Alaska. People wrote fucking essays. Conspiracy theories blossomed like mold on a neglected cheesy sandwich. And all of it was engineered by a fucking movie studio willing to fake its way to greatness. Alright, let's fucking do it. Let's briefly talk about Braveheart. Here we fucking go. The movie that made a generation of history teachers depressed. Alright, I'm having to gear up for this one. I will no doubt do a fucking 4-hour retrospective on this motherfucker at some point. But for now, let's just talk about Braveheart briefly, alright? Released in 1995, and starring Mel Gibson, back when he was at the height of his powers, way before he became a walking mea culpa, which, side note, how hilarious is it to consider what Mel Gibson lost his career for? Like, in hindsight, the dude got drunk and called a cop sugar tits before saying that the Jews start all wars, and he lost everything for that. He lost everything for saying that. I'll just leave that there. Anyway, Braveheart. I'm talking about fucking... We're here to talk about Braveheart, Jim. Anyway, Braveheart is a sweeping, epic war film about Scottish hero and our god, William Wallace. It's got everything. It's got romance, betrayal, slow motion horse battles, and enough nationalistic pride to turn your hair ginger. Like, honestly, Scotland loves Braveheart unironically. Most people, we all just love it. Some love it ironically. A lot of people fucking don't love it ironically. They actually fucking love it. The film claims to tell the true story of Wallace's fight against English oppression during the late 13th century. It's deeply emotional, unapologetically violent, and exactly as historically accurate as a fucking drunk Australian guy at the Last Supper. Let's begin with the obvious, right? William Wallace did not wear a kilt. Not in battle, not on casual Fridays, not ever, not fucking ever. Kilts didn't even exist until centuries later. They're about as period accurate as giving him a fucking lightsaber and earbuds so that he can listen to Slayer whilst he's slaying the English. And the whole blue face paint thing, the iconic blue face paint, yeah, that was supposedly a Pictish tradition that died out way before Wallace was born. The Picts, P-I-C-T-S, they were one of several groups of our native peoples, and we know precisely fuck all about them, basically. They're mythological, half mythological at this stage, but reports of them being referred to as the Painted Ones, and donning themselves in tattoos survived, and are the basis for much of our assumptions about them. They probably weren't even called Picts, they probably weren't even an organised group of people, but do you know what I mean? It's very, very spotty. The love interest, we'll talk about the love interest, Princess Isabella of France. The woman with the perfect hair who comforts Wallace with her sensual eyes and barely decipherable accent. me giving someone's accent shit, fucking pot, meat, kettle. Anyway, according to the film, she has an affair with Wallace, becomes pregnant, and then whispers to the King of England that she's carrying Mel Gibson's baby. Scandal, poetic justice. Fight, yes! Do you know what I mean? But one small issue, Isabella was about 3 years old when William Wallace died. So unless this is the medieval version of Toddlers and Tiaras, that entire romantic subplot is less forbidden passion and more, why don't you take a seat, have a cookie? Just, I can't do a Chris Hansen impression. Anyway, the inaccuracies don't stop at costumes and fucking creepiness. The battle scenes are fucking completely fabricated. The Battle of Stirling Bridge, right? The Battle of Stirling Bridge, you'll notice, has no bridge in the film. Why? Because Mel Gibson thought that a bridge would get in the way of the horses. Which is a bold choice for a battle that is literally named after the bridge. The bridge was the whole fucking reason we were able to win that fight that we shouldn't have won. We used the bridge and leveraged it to sandwich the English in, and yeah, whatever, do you know what I mean? We threw them off. It was the only way that we had the advantage was because of the bridge. The bridge was a pretty vital fucking component of the Battle of Stirling Bridge, believe it or not. But no, it's not dramatic enough. Anyway, let's not forget Robert the Bruce. Robert the Bruce, the guy in the film, he betrays Wallace like some kind of fucking medieval Brutus. You can almost hear Mel Gibson saying, "Et tu, Rab, et tu." Do you know what I mean? In real life, Robert the Bruce was the actual Braveheart. He was a national hero who eventually led Scotland to independence. In the movie, he's a fucking simpy. He's a prick. In the movie, he's another fucking just a tortured soul who only comes to realise that he should defend his nation because Mel Gibson, like, talked him into it. Anyway, fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. The film dramatically simplifies the politics of the time. Wallace is painted as this lone wolf revolutionary, rising up out of the pure freedom-loving rage in his heart. In truth, he was a small cog in a much larger and messier conflict that involved nobles, land rights, alliances so confusing that they make fucking your office politics seem straightforward. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, here's the wild thing. Braveheart was never about the history. It was about vibes. Do you know what I mean? It was about cinematic nationalism, emotional manipulation with swords and bagpipes. And it fucking worked. As I say, we love this film. Like, unironically, we cry when Murren dies. We cheer when Wallace screams freedom. We pump our fists when the army moons the English. By the end of Braveheart, most Scottish men of age are ready to march down to the fucking English border and for a square go, as we call it. We're ready. Do you know what I mean? It's propaganda in a kilt, right? And yet, for all its embellishments, Braveheart became a cultural touchstone. It sparked renewed interest in Scottish independence. The SNP would go on to take our parliament, the Scottish Nationalist Party, whose sole goal is Scottish independence, apparently, would go and come into power not long after Braveheart. Not that long, really, 15 years. You get my point. It boosted tourism in the Highlands. It made wearing tartan in the summer seem like a fucking good idea when it isn't. People genuinely believed it was an accurate depiction of history, right up until they researched literally anything that happened in it. Mel Gibson defended it, which of course he has a fucking right to. He defended the film's creative liberties by saying, it's not a documentary. It's not a documentary, mate. That's what he said. Yeah, it's not a documentary. I can't do it. Mel Gibson, fuck knows what he sounds like. Which, fair enough, Mel Gibson, right? But when your fictionalized hero is being used in political campaigns and your fake facts are shaping actual cultural identities, maybe, just maybe, you owe reality a bit more than a fucking shrug. You get me? But still, for all its historical sins, Braveheart is fucking iconic. It's iconic, not because it tells the truth, because it tells a better lie. A lie that is cathartic, cinematic, and utterly allergic to historical accuracy. And that, my friends, is why it won the Best Picture Oscar. By now, you are probably noticing a pattern. The more a movie insists that it's based on a true story, the more likely it is to be complete, utter, unfiltered nonsense. And no film plays this game better or more smugly than the icy masterpiece that is Fargo. Right off the bat, the film hits you with this confident, almost biblical opening text. This is a true story. The events depicted in this film took place in Minnesota in 1987 at the request of the survivors. The names have been changed. Out of respect for the dead, the rest has been told exactly as it occurred. Which, to translate into non-Coen brother language, means we're about to lie directly to your fucking face. The entire movie, every frozen corpse, every wood chipper, and every folksy accent is a fabrication. It wasn't inspired by real events, not loosely adapted from real events, not even mythologized from a murder that happened 2 states over. No, just completely fucking made up by Joel and Ethan Coen. And they knew exactly what they were doing. The Coens wanted to play with the audience's expectations, to toy with the bizarre cultural belief that if something is true, then it must make it more meaningful. I touched upon this in my Smashing Machine Dwayne Johnson video, that if it's true, it gives it a gravitas. It makes it more artistic, more serious. Do you know what I mean? So they wrote a story that felt true, grounded, bleak, full of awkward silences, and people who say, yeah, and heck, whilst casually disposing of torsos. But none of it happened. There's no record of a Minneapolis car salesman named Jerry Lundegaard trying to have his wife kidnapped. No pregnant police officer called Marge Gunderson solving a murder with politeness. No actual incident involving a man being fed feet first into a wood chipper. There was one murder case in Connecticut in 1986, about 10 years prior, in which a man dismembered his wife and then allegedly used a wood chipper to dispose of the body. Richard Crafts, his name was. aka the wood chipper murderer, which just FYI, the wood chipper killer hits the ear much better than the wood chipper murderer. Just whoever's marketing these serial killers, just make a note of that. But anyway, that story has no connection to Minnesota. The Coens, anything else in the film, it's just a coincidence. The Coen brothers probably read about it and thought, that's sweet, and then sort of forgot that they logged it in the back of their brain. Do you know what I mean? Despite the total fabrication, however, people believed it. Why? Because the tone was just right. It's so mundane. Do you know what I mean? The pacing, the way everyone mumbles through their crimes like they're inconvenienced more than horrified. It all felt eerily believable, like murder could happen next door and be cleaned up with a fucking shop vac and some strong Lutheran work ethic. and here's the fucking kicker. When people did start asking questions, the Coens, they didn't exactly rush to clarify the situation. For a while they just sort of sat back and let the myth ride. Joel Coen eventually said on the commentary for Fargo that if an audience believes that something is based on a real event, it gives you permission to do things that are less plausible. In other words, lying makes you more believable. It's a bold artistic strategy. Imagine telling someone that their spouse cheated on them based on true events, just to make them more emotionally receptive. I mean, that's what Fargo did, essentially. And it worked. It fucking worked. But here's where things get wild, right? Because the film claimed to be true. Because it did claim to be true, it supposedly inspired a real-life tragedy. In 2001, a Japanese woman named Takako Kanishi travelled to Minnesota, reportedly believing that the film was real. I'm giggling. It's not funny. It's not funny. Specifically, she was looking for the suitcase full of ransom money. She was later found dead in the snow, tragically. Early reports wildly speculated that she died searching for Fargo's fictional loot. In truth, her death had nothing to do with the movie, but the media latched onto it. Like, they latched onto the Fargo connection, proving once again that people will believe anything if you slap a true story label on it and deliver it with enough deadpan gravitas. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, what did we learn? That the Coens are brilliant manipulators? Yes. That Americans will believe a murder plot involving a wood chipper because it's delivered with a Midwestern accent? Also yes. But mostly we learned that you don't need to be true to feel true. And Fargo feels true. Painfully, awkwardly, uncomfortably true. It's what makes it a masterpiece. It's also what makes it a beautifully executed con job. So the next time you hear based on a true story, remember Fargo, remember the wood chipper, and remember, if you're going to lie, lie with confidence. Finally, The Pursuit of Happyness. The film that launched 1,000 motivational Facebook posts. It's the cinematic equivalent of a framed live, laugh, love sign in your aunt's hallway. Only with more homelessness, to be fair. There's a fair deal of homelessness in it. And a lot of maths. So if you're put off by homelessness and maths, then this film isn't for you. It was released in 2006. This heartstring yanking drama starred everyone's favourite pimp slapper, Will Smith, as a real-life entrepreneur called Chris Gardner, a man who goes from being homeless and broke to becoming a millionaire stockbroker, all while raising his son as a single parent. It's about resilience, hard work. It's also, unsurprisingly, not entirely accurate. Because of course it fucking isn't, because I'm talking about it. Let's start with the title. Yes, it is deliberately misspelled, which of course means it's a high art piece. As I discussed as I brought up with 13 Ghosts, if a piece of art deliberately misspells its title, you know it's fucking good. You know it's high art. Anyway, the misspelling in The Pursuit of Happyness doesn't mean anything. It just refers to a mural that Gardner once saw on a daycare window, which was misspelled. For some reason, that was profound enough to justify making it the title of the movie. That was apparently a profound moment. Now, the movie opens with Gardner struggling to sell bone density scanners, a device that somehow manages to be both wildly specific and completely uninteresting. After failing to convince hospitals to buy his overpriced scanners, he gets evicted, becomes homeless, and then lands a prestigious internship at Dean Witter. It's unpaid. He has to outperform everyone else to earn a full-time position, all while taking care of his young son, who is soon to become the most annoying teenager on the face of the fucking planet. But anyway, it's powerful stuff. It's uplifting, inspirational, to be sure. It completely glosses over the fact that Chris Gardner was arrested, sued, and had a history of domestic violence and left several financial and personal wrecks in his wake. But let's rewind. It's based on a memoir. Chris Gardner's actual memoir, the book the film is based on. In this, Gardner admits to cheating on his wife, fathering a child with another woman, and physically assaulting her. He was arrested at least once on domestic violence charges. He also spent time in jail for unpaid parking tickets, which the film kinda touches on, but it didn't exactly happen in the Hallmark card fashion that you see it play out in the film. Anyway, Hollywood has never met a biography that it couldn't neuter. The movie version of Gardner is a humble, loving father who just wants a better life for his annoying son. The real version? Significantly messier. Also, the internship at Dean Witter, that wasn't the make-or-break fantasy that was depicted in the movie. It was unpaid, yes, absolutely, but it wasn't some fucking Hunger Games style gladiator pit where one intern survived and the rest were tossed into the fucking San Francisco Bay. Gardner had support from all friends and family. He had many friends and lots of family, and he had support from them all. Not that you would know that from the movie, which treats his entire fucking social network like they died. But anyway, let's not forget the emotional climax. The moment Gardner is finally hired, after months and months of unpaid labour, homelessness, and a tearful subway ride. One too many. Do you know what I mean? One too many tearful subway rides. Cue the music, cue the applause, cue the Oscar nomination. Except Gardner didn't get rich at Dean Witter. That's not how that story ended. He stayed there a short while, but he would then move on to Bear Stearns, and only after several years did he launch his own firm, Gardner Rich & Co. That would later make him wealthy, but it wasn't overnight. It wasn't dramatic. It was a grinding, slow, setback-laboured journey. But we can't have that in a Hollywood film. No one wants to see a spreadsheet montage or a 6-year time jump where Will Smith quietly files tax forms and applies for an LLC. Do you know what I mean? We want tears, triumph, capitalism, goddammit! And the film gives us that. A clean arc, a child's smile, a man walking off into the distance, happy, whole, finally free from bone scanners. And yes, the story is inspiring. Chris Gardner did genuinely pull himself out of poverty. He did succeed. Fucking good on him. Good on anyone who can do that. But the real story, of course, is complex, messy, and at times a little uncomfortable. It's a lot less follow your dreams and more survive your mistakes, which to me is more interesting. The real story is more interesting. But anyway, Hollywood didn't just smooth out the wrinkles. It sandblasted them into fucking oblivion. So, what is the takeaway here? That hard work pays off? Well, yeah, sometimes. That you can succeed no matter where you start? Sure. If you're exceptionally talented, incredibly lucky, and willing to edit out parts of your biography when you write it. But more than anything, the Pursuit of Happyness teaches us that the truth is optional. It's not about what happened, it's about what feels good. It's about what sells, and what sells is a fairy tale. A pretty lie. A man in a suit hugging his son and smiling through the pain while pianos and violins swell. That's what Hollywood does best. Not reflect reality, but sell a version of reality that you want to believe. Even if that version involves, deleting arrests, assault charges, domestic assault charges, and emotional wreckage in favour of a clean shave and a job interview and a can-do attitude. Anyway, nothing sells quite like hope, especially when it's fictional hope. But sunshine. I'm done.